What if you could touch a killer whale? What would it feel like? What if it were possible to build a trusting relationship with the world's top ocean predator, toothed and powerful? What if you could connect in a way that you never imagined? Swim skin to skin, let it launch you 50 feet into the air, or place you gently on a ledge? What if you found out how important killer whales are to the ocean, other animals, even us? What if you discovered really simple things that you can do every day to help make sure that this incredible species never disappears from our planet? What if?
My children, Natselani said to them, you will now live in the sea. Eat
anything in the water, but never bother people. Don't bite them.
If you see a man and he says to you, help me, killer whale,
you must help him. Then he will give you something.
Throughout time, killer whales have been a prominent feature of many cultures. Whether living up to tales of kind-hearted whales helping hunters on the sea, or down to mythological, man-eating sea monsters, they've played a visible role in various cultures.
So the Tlinkits regarded the killer whale as a very strong entity, and a certain group of the Tlinkits took the killer whale as their clan symbol or their totem.
Killer whales are found in all oceans of the world, but are most abundant in the colder waters of the polar regions.
You think of them as wanting to be in cold water all the time, but killer whales are found in all oceans of the world. So to see them in warm water down in Mexico or South American waters, and then to see them up in Alaska in cold waters is very cool.
Next to humans, killer whales are the most widely distributed mammal. Dolphins, porpoises, and whales are grouped together in the scientific order Cetacea. Cetacea comes from katos, the Greek word for whale. Killer whales belong to the toothed whales or suborder Odontoceti, and are the largest member of the dolphin family, Delphinidae. A key characteristic that this family of cetaceans share is having teeth that are cone-shaped. Orca is the Latin word meaning barrel-shaped.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how exhilarating that was. It was a little scary though, too. You know, I'm sitting there in the kayak and all of a sudden I've got like 20 killer whales around me. They were going underneath me. The water's so clear up there, you know, I'd look down and I'd see them right there next to me looking at me. Big eye go by. And then I was a little worried. Yeah, I was a little worried, but it was just absolutely incredible.
Most of us will never get this close to a killer whale. Still, many of us feel a connection to them. We want to find out more about them and how they've managed to survive since prehistoric times in some of the world's most extreme conditions. We've learned a lot about killer whales by studying them in the wild and through research and care in zoological parks and aquariums. But we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Seeing killer whales in the wild is just amazing.
It's really awe-inspiring to see these whales break the surface in unison and to see a calf come over and play with your boat.
Gained a great deal of respect for their size and their power.
No other animal is a threat to the killer whale. It has earned its rank as the top predator of the sea. Every feature, body shape, size, coloration, and speed, enhances their extraordinary hunting abilities. This animal is built to thrive. In the sea, color and pattern can make a life or death difference. Killer whales are solid black and white, with a gray saddle patch just behind the dorsal fin, a perfect example of disruptive coloration. In the flickering, shadowy sunlight of the sea, other animals may not recognize a killer whale as a potential predator. In the ocean, swiftness matters. Killer whales can reach speeds of nearly 30 miles an hour, making it one of the fastest swimming sea animals on the planet. Rounded, paddle-like pectoral flippers help steer, and the strong forked fluke or tail helps move forward or stop. From underneath the ocean, killer whales must surface to breathe. Through a single blowhole, warm breath meets cold air, causing a cloud of condensation. To open its blowhole, a killer whale contracts a muscular flap. When relaxed in a closed position, this flap provides a watertight seal. Flexibility can be life-saving. In frigid waters or warmer seas, a complex circulatory system of arteries surrounded by veins in the flippers and flukes help regulate body temperature. It all adds up to the ocean's top predator, built to survive and thrive.
How do you think a killer whale got its name?
There's no other prey that will eat it.
They kill sharks.
Because it kills its food.
Because it's a predator?
Fishermen were scared of them.
It eats fish.
Doesn't it eat seals or something?
No one messes with it. It's like the ultimate predator, so.
It's the biggest one of the family, so it's the main one, so it kills all the other animals.
Can't imagine, but they are so friendly.
Why does the killer whale have such an aggressive-sounding name? Ancient sailors actually called them whale killer after witnessing killer whales attacking larger cetaceans, an event that can occur even in modern times, as seen by this amazing attack on an enormous blue whale. Being opportunistic hunters, their diets vary from one region to another. Mostly, they eat fishes, squids, and marine mammals, like seals. Their attack strategies include cooperative hunting, stalking and ambushing, and pursuing prey. They swallow their food whole, or if it's too big to eat in one piece, they tear it into large chunks. With several strategic options, it's safe to say the killer whale's hunting is calculated, complex, and very successful.
One of my graduate students in the last 3 or 4 years discovered that a young male, when his mom had a baby, all of a sudden he's footloose and fancy-free, and he formed a social bond with other males here at SeaWorld San Diego. That was something that we didn't know these killer whales did.
Killer whales live in social units called pods, and within many of these group settings, there is a social hierarchy. Even though males are much larger than females, the pod is matriarchal, with females at the top of the hierarchy. When traveling, females and juveniles generally stay in the center of the pod, while adult males swim at the wings. Killer whales are very social and may connect with other whales through a range of communications.
We don't call it a language, but we do see dialects in killer whales, and in fact, they're very special that way. If you, for example, travel to the south, you may pick up a southern accent if you're there for too long. But if you move somewhere else in the world, you may develop a new accent based on who you're hanging out with. We call that dialects in killer whales.
In addition to vocalizations, killer whales have other behaviors that may serve a variety of purposes. A breach might scratch an itch. Spy hopping might give a look above the water surface, or be a way of communicating with others. Killer whales are among the most curious of cetaceans, with a tendency to play, to manipulate objects, or join in the fun wherever it's happening. Is it possible that the whale connection could reach beyond the pod?
I came the first time when I was 20, and I was in college taking economics classes, and I watched the show and I watched the guy fly through the air, and right then I was like, that's what I got to do. So I talked to one of the trainers after the show, said, how do you get the job? They told me, and I went back to school. I changed my major, and here I am.
The babies, they're usually the most challenging. They're so rambunctious and very playful and have the shortest attention span, so they definitely could keep you on your toes and teach you a lot of things of how to work with them.
I'll be talking with the guests or just make eye contact across the pool, and you can see that look in their eye, and you know that it's hit them just like it hit me so many years before, and it's amazing. You don't know if you're going to be maybe inspiring that child to become an animal trainer or maybe follow another dream in their life.
I cannot believe I'm 50 feet in the air on top of a killer whale. Like, who does that?
I get to swim with killer whales, and I get to train them, and I get to interact with them. It's a wonderful thing.
Training animals is a rewarding and fulfilling career, but it's not always easy and fun. It takes hard work and dedication. But it's worth it. Here are the basics you'll need in order to succeed. You have to be 18 years old, and to work with marine mammals, you have to have your scuba certification and a high school diploma. Once you have those three things, you'll need to pass the SeaWorld swim test. You'll need to be a very strong swimmer for this. First, you'll have to be able to do a freestyle swim, an underwater hold-your-breath swim, and a surface dive, where you pick up a weight and bring it back to the top. And you have to do it all in cool salt water, without a wetsuit. It's a pretty competitive field, so here are a few tips to give you the edge. A college degree in any science field is good. If the degree is in biology, psychology, or marine biology, it's even better. But any four-year degree is a definite plus. And if you want to get a jump start on experience, volunteer for any animal-related organization. Animal training. It takes hard work and dedication, but in the end, it's definitely worth it.
They're pretty neat and they can swim really good.
He's a beautiful animal.
Because he splashes people.
He's so big and huge, it's just great to see an animal like that.
The confidence they have in the trainers is really good.
I think it was Shamu that was born when I was a kid. I remember the whole story on TV and I always wanted to come see it.
I liked it when he splashed us.
They're really funny and they get you wet.
I just dreamed and dreamed about being able to build a friendship with the top predator of the ocean. To have that relationship was something that just stuck in my heart. I always wanted to do.
I remember my first time interacting with a killer whale and just rubbing her down, and she took a big breath in my face, and that was really powerful to me, and it kind of gave me the sense that for once in my life I was exactly where I was supposed to be.
I could feel every time she took a breath, her back would move, and every time she kicked her tail, it just blew me away.
I interacted with Takara for about 2 years before I got in the water with her. My heart stopped because I've been waiting for it for that long, and to feel what it's like to experience something with one of your best friends, you know, that you've made over the years was magnificent.
The human connection with killer whales can be a powerful bond. This close connection has taught us a lot. So much of what we've learned about these animals has come from observing and interacting with them in human care. At SeaWorld parks, animals are always asked to perform a behavior, and their willingness to respond is up to them. So, you can understand how important the trainer relationship is with the whale. Trust is key to this relationship. We see the results of that relationship in the shows, but training also helps maintain good health.
Whale training is extremely important because we rely on the training to conduct a medical exam, and without that training, or husbandry training that we call it, for doing basic procedures that we look for general health parameters. Without those behaviors, it'd be hard to get to the animal.
When a killer whale voluntarily presents itself, a variety of tasks can be performed. Every 2 to 4 weeks, trainers take measurements on each whale, including body length, girth at several points, and dimensions of the flippers, flukes, and dorsal fin. During pregnancy, periodic monitoring ensures the health of both mother and calf. Even dental care is part of their health routine. Killer whales are trained to hold still and stay calm throughout procedures. There is no doubt, training reaches far beyond the behaviors guests see in shows. Training also helps ensure safety, health, and well-being.
You just watched the show. Do you know which whale was Shamu?
The big one that wet us, that was Shamu.
It was the big one, and it came up and absolutely soaked you.
The biggest one, I think.
The last one that came?
Yeah, they all look a lot the same, like.
The big one.
SeaWorld's Shamu is the most recognizable killer whale in the world, allowing all ages to get as close as possible to this amazing species. But who exactly is Shamu? Shamu's legacy began when a large male killer whale was accidentally caught in fishing nets in British Columbia. The whale was named Namu after a nearby fishing port and was moved to Seattle to be the first killer whale publicly displayed in the Pacific Northwest. A female whale soon joined Namu, and she was named Shamu, a contraction of she in Namu. Shamu became the first killer whale to travel by plane when she was moved to SeaWorld in San Diego. We continue to honor Shamu's name in our daily presentations. Whether it's learning from Shamu, people that work directly with killer whales, or by observing them in the wild, our connection to killer whales is unquestionably strong.
The connection with a killer whale is unlike probably any other animal that I've ever worked with.
And a vital link to their survival.
On stage, they may all be called Shamu, but every one of SeaWorld's whales has its own name and a distinctive personality to go with it. Names are chosen in several ways. In some cases, the trainers have named the whales. On other occasions, our guests and pass holders have been asked to vote. The names selected usually have meanings in other languages. Nakai was the first calf conceived by artificial insemination, so he was named Nakai, which is Native American for victory. Una means to love and adore in Icelandic. Taima was born during a thunderstorm, so she was given the name Taima, which is Icelandic for crash of thunder. Kaliha's name was selected by SeaWorld annual pass holders. It means beauty in Hawaiian. Trua is Icelandic for believe, and Trua commemorates the premiere of our Believe show. Takara is Japanese for treasure. And Keet is the word for whale in Russian. The name Shamu has come to symbolize the mystery, majesty, and wonder of all killer whales. By giving all of our whales the opportunity to participate in this starring role, we create a great environment for them and an exciting, meaningful experience for our guests.
Field research is very inspirational, it's very exciting, it's something that I think being out there in the field, it packs you in a way that you just can't feel when you're sitting at home watching it on TV.
Every living creature has a story. They eat, breathe, grow, communicate? It's no different with the killer whales. Simply by being here, they have so much to tell us. All we have to do is pay attention. Though there are advantages to observing killer whales in the wild, in the protected setting of a marine zoological park, we're able to study them on a more consistent and intensive basis.
We can't really track them and follow them as individuals very well in the wild, but we can certainly see how they develop their dialect here under controlled conditions at SeaWorld and learn who they learn from, what kind of social interactions they have with other individuals to promote that, and maybe develop hypotheses about how we can help them in the wild.
Through Dr. Bowles and similar researchers, we've learned a tremendous amount about killer whales. We know they're capable of performing some very complex tasks. They learn different things at different rates, and, like people, there can be huge variations among individual animals of the same species. What Hub SeaWorld Research Institute is learning from whales at SeaWorld translates into crucial information for whales in the ocean.
We do research in 4 major topic areas: aquaculture, large-scale ecology, ocean health, and then finally there's my topic area, which is bioacoustics. We're trying to study how human-made noise, for example, interacts with animals in the wild, and also to understand the basic biology of their communication.
The more we understand how killer whales communicate and how noise impacts them, the more information we have that can potentially help protect whales in the wild.
To watch something underwater spin and swim quickly.
We were all just holding our breath. We watched the delivery of the birth. We watched the mother assist the calf to the surface for that first breath, and it was just a magic moment.
SeaWorld's killer whale breeding program is the most successful in the world. Data gathered over the decades has given valuable insight into reproduction, calf development, and special needs during pregnancy and following birth. This information has led to the successful development of artificial insemination techniques that help maintain diversity within our family of whales and could impact future killer whale populations and other at-risk animals.
We can get samples from other countries that have killer whales in captivity, so we can improve our genetic diversity by using other male genetics to improve that diversity, and that helps us and our population grow. And that may very well lead us to information that we can use for wild animals as well.
Researchers around the world continue to gather and share information on killer whales. But so much about these fascinating animals is still a mystery, a story that will continue to unfold for generations to come, assuming, that is, that we take good care of their ocean home today.
Big things that are happening in our world, it's trickling down to where the animals are.